In the early days of Formula One, there was nothing like sponsorship. At best, teams flew their national colors. The Ferraris raced in Italian red, and the British cars in British racing green. By the 1960s, Big Tobacco became sponsor of Formula One. This is despite the fact that in 1950, medical studies linked cigarette smoking to lung cancer. Specifically in 1968, Lotus debuted their first commercial partnership. The Lotus 49, with which Graham Hill won his last championship in 1968, was powered by a Cosworth engine. The car, with its gold leaf livery, became the first car to benefit from a major corporate sponsor. Gold Leaf, a brand owned by Imperial Tobacco, entered the Formula One circuit and, to this very day, tobacco companies have never left. On the first day of 2024, the F1 community was greeted with the massive unveiling event of the Stake-Sauber team. The ceremony by the betting company, appropriately headlined by hardcore gambler Drake, ushers the F1 world into the realm of high-stakes betting. A lot of people have protested online. They believe that F1 teams shouldn't take money from harmful companies like gambling firms. They also made arguments against other F1 sponsors. They said F1 is now a stage to promote addiction, health issues, and war crimes. But we will debunk those issues and make you understand that hardcore racing is a sport for the wild. If we do not accept and embrace our nature, the activists will make all cars run on electricity. Welcome to Front Lockout. F1 encourages gambling addiction and suicide. People who are against the invasion of F1 by gambling companies estimated that 3% of the world population suffers from betting and gambling addiction, and that about 17% of them have attempted suicide in one or more cases. But let's address this issue. What makes F1 an easy target for this type of criticism is because there are just 10 teams. Hence, it is easy to see any sponsor that sticks out. Stake.com, which sponsors Sauber, and is harshly criticized by some F1 fans, is also the shirt sponsor of the Everton football team in England. I have not heard any soccer supporter come out to condemn Everton. In fact, a total of 7 English Premier League teams have betting companies as their shirt sponsors. Bournemouth, Dafabet, Aston Villa, BK8, Brentford, Hollywood Bets, Burnley, W88, Everton, Stake.com, Fulham, Spotop, and West Ham United, Betway, all have front-of-shirt sponsorship agreements with firms in the gambling sector this season. More so, every single one of all 20 teams in the division have a form of partnership with a betting company. And this is just the top 20 teams in England alone. We have not mentioned hundreds of other European clubs. Why then do we make it look as though F1 is responsible for all betting addictions and their associated suicide rate? F1 takes money from companies complicit in crimes as a whitewash. Proponents of this argument have fingered Petronas to be complicit in war crimes, despite being the title sponsor of Mercedes. Shell, which frequently partners with Ferrari, has been held responsible for oil spillage and farmland destruction in Nigeria. And then there is Aramco, which is controlled by the Saudi government and accused of using sports to whitewash. But here is a counter-argument. First off, no company or entity is going to be defended here, and companies who are involved in crimes must pay for it. In a 2010 Swedish report, Petronas of Malaysia was fingered in war crimes in Sudan, while Shell has refused to do enough to clean the destruction that its activities caused in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. What these companies have done is truly despicable, and there is no excuse for that. However, sometimes a company that does something bad also does good things. Petronas also sponsors the Malaysian Open and also gave scholarships to 600 students in the past year alone. Shell also sponsors British cycling, which climate activists have described as greenwashing. While these acts do not erase their wrongs, it at least paint a picture that they are not all evil. As racing fans, these fossil fuel companies are our last line of defense in a woke world that wants to eradicate the internal combustion engine. The issue of F1 taking money from Saudi Arabia is just as tricky. In recent years, all important heavyweight boxing matches have gone to Saudi Arabia. I am yet to see anyone call out Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury for these. Neymar, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Benzema all play in Saudi Arabia and will earn a combined $1 billion at the end of their contracts. Why then is the money paid to these athletes clean, but the money paid to F1 is dirty? A media war. In the high censorship world we live in today, some people feel they have the right to dictate what is considered good or bad. If you have a contrary opinion, you will be deplatformed. However, what is considered good or bad is a matter of perspective. If a mobile phone company had sponsored Sauber instead of Stake, nobody would have raised an eyelid. But is a mobile phone company actually clean? A mobile phone, for instance, is made of elements like cobalt. According to Amnesty International, 40,000 children help mine these sorts of metals with their hands in Congo. It will seem ethical to collect money from phone companies, but a decent chunk of their product is made with child labor. The same could be said for most apparel companies whose products are made from the sweat of poorly paid laborers. I have never heard anyone calling for the ban of mobile phones. Electric cars are excellent at starting fires, and these fires are impossible to fight. When they burn down the entire house, and firefighters even die trying to contain the thermal runway. According to Thayer Smith, Austin Fire Department chief, he said, "Normally a car fire you can put out with 500 to 1,000 gallons of water, but electric may take up to 30,000 to 40,000 gallons of water, maybe even more." These unpopular sponsors are the only ones crazy enough to fund our obsessions. If F1 is left in the hands of woke companies and climate alarmists, we sure won't have a sport pretty soon. These firms have succeeded anyway. From 2026 season, the electric portion of the F1 engine is expected to triple from 160 to 470 horsepower. As racing fans, you must be wary of Formula Electric. The success of that series will mean the end of internal combustion engines in Formula One. This is Front Lockout, signing off.